Hello and welcome to the DC United Kingdom podcast. I'm your host, James Graham.
I'm Sarah Kallassy.
And I'm Ken Ackerson.
This is episode 23. Let's start the show. Welcome, Sarah and Ken, back to the show yet again. How are you guys doing?
Hey, James, doing great. Thanks for having us back on.
Yeah, thanks, James. I've been doing well. Been, hanging out, watching DC.
Yeah, we're in the midst of a break at the moment. How are we coping with this break? Because I'm not doing so well. I want some MLS back.
Yeah, it's a bit boring, isn't it? I don't really know what's going on. My social media life is dead.
Yeah, I mean, I got to watch the U.S. beat Cuba 7-0, so that was kind of cool, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I did actually watch the highlights on that earlier on today. It seemed a bit of a walkover, especially the first half.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Paul got on and had an injury scare, but other than that, it was pretty fun to watch.
I'm definitely all for us having these matches, but Paul cannot get hurt. We have playoffs. So, Paul, if you're listening, please be healthy. We need you.
We do. We desperately do. We will be talking about the playoff run later on in the show. But before we kick into the whole entire episode, I just want to talk about some things that I've launched with the support groups members. It is the end of season awards. You guys will have seen it, won't you? Sarah and Ken, have you voted on the end of season awards?
Oh my goodness. I need to get my vote on. I've been analyzing the list, and we actually are pretty well represented across all the categories, so I'm very excited.
And then there's the DC United Kingdom end of season awards as well, isn't there, Sarah?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I haven't yet.
Oh, no way. My guest hosts haven't voted. So hopefully, if you're listening and you are one of the members, you have voted, because there's been plenty of votes coming in. Just to kind of give you a rundown. So if you're not a member, head over to dcunitedkingdom.com/membership, become a member. I'll send you the link to the end of season awards. But the kind of categories we've got going on there. So we've got goalkeeper of the year, we've got defender, we've got midfielder, and we've got forward of the year. We've got the choice on the MVP, so your most valuable player. One of my little favourites awards, the unsung hero of the year, and the young MVP award. In terms of who's in the running, in the unsung hero award, it is tied at the moment between Fred Brion and Junior Moreno.
Ooh. Okay, so James, I have a serious question with this.
Yeah, go for it.
Because you know me, I have a hard time. I'm very superstitious about voting, about any of these sort of things, making match predictions. Are you tracking who's voting for what? And are you going to judge us based on our votes?
No, there is zero tracking. Basically, I've asked for people just to only vote for once. But yes, there is zero tracking on this. So you won't be judged at all. Except my own votes, which I know who I voted for, but I will not reveal that just yet.
Is goalkeeper of the year even a question?
No. I don't want to give it away, but I think if you're listening, you could probably guess. But the defender of the one is quite is also a close call. I think there's only 2 votes in it at the moment. Midfielder is a bit of a one-horse race at the moment. But forward of the year is also a tie. So it's all to play for. So get your votes in and let's see who wins the end of season awards. I will be revealing the results on the end of season show. So that will be after the playoffs are finished. I don't want to be doing that beforehand. So we'll find out then. So you guys, will you be voting soon?
Oh, I think
yes.
So.
Cool. That's the answer I was looking for. Right. So let's kick off the show. We've got a couple of games to kind of go through because it's been a couple of weeks since we've done a show. We've got that game against the Red Bulls. I was going to call them a different name, but I am being political and I'm being correct on this. So the Red Bull New York, we tied with them 0-0. Ken, you were there, weren't you?
Yeah, I was there. It was pretty well representative for DC. There was, I think, over 100 DC supporters there. I thought we were pretty loud, and it was a really good time.
And having it sounds bizarre to me because I'm still not used to the road games and how many supporters go to them because obviously it's a big distance. Here in the UK, you usually have 2,000-3,000 as a minimum represented. So having 100, that's a good representation, is it?
Yeah, so I mean, I think when we had the NYCFC game in the beginning of the year, there was like I don't know exact numbers, but it felt like maybe 20 or 30% less. Um, so yeah, I thought it was a pretty decent representation. I mean, I think it was a little more than 100, probably more like 110, 120, 130. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty good, and that's just the people that I saw in the supporters section. I'm sure there was more DC fans around though.
Oh, that's good. Um, there was obviously a few key points from that game and some really good stuff from DC point of view. Sarah, what did you make of Bill Hamid's save in the 62nd minute, I believe, where he saved it over to his right?
Oh, that was just like the most brilliant save. Absolutely. I believe that was from Caceres, right?
Yes, it was.
Oh my gosh. I just remember, so I was actually at a local watch party. I wasn't able to get up to New York and I was watching that and I know I just like got up on my feet. Of course, me being the lone DC United crazy person at the bar, but it's okay. It was fantastic. And then that nice Briant header, it was brilliant. I have
Oh,
to
you
say it.
didn't. Oh,
I
no.
have to. He's
Oh,
been just having such an incredible season. I was disappointed with the draw. I don't know how you both feel. It was great. We kept our 1 point lead, but I just really wanted to go up there and kind of stick it to the Red Bulls. And yeah,
um, I'm kind of not too disappointed in the fact that we got a tie there, mainly because that they needed the win a hell of a lot more than we did. It was great that we got another clean sheet, so that was our fourth in a row at that time. Um, we had chances to win the game, but I think Ben's primary objective was to keep that clean sheet and to come away with at least a tie. Ken, what did you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't terribly disappointed in the draw. I mean, I was really just glad that we didn't lose, honestly, because they did need the win a little bit more than us, and also, yeah, they're our rivals, obviously. So I was just happy that they couldn't like gloat that they won again, I guess, this season. So yeah, I mean, I would have liked to win that game. It was I felt like, well, like not too many chances were created overall, like for both sides combined, but it felt relatively intense and I don't know. It seemed like a very hard game to have to compete in.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got actually a couple of fans of the show who've tweeted it. Well, one's tweeted and one sent a voice message in. So a guy called Aaron, who, if you want to find him and follow him on Twitter, it's Aaron, at AaronMotes2. And he tweeted in that he thought the game was scrappy. DC looked good for the first half an hour. The ex-Metros, I love that. They were better over the last hour. It was a good roll point for DC, and we need to be thankful that we've got Bill Hamid, which I totally agree with all of that. Do you guys agree?
I think we should always be thankful we have Bill and Meat.
No.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Bill Hamid, yeah, I mean that one save was amazing, but I mean this season, he's really definitely kept us in the playoff picture and probably saved a few jobs there in the coaching staff.
He has been absolutely wonderful all season. So yes, thank you, Bill, for being Bill. Be like Bill. Um, Also, as I said, we had a voice message sent in, so I was going to play that now for you guys, and let me know your thoughts on this.
Hi James, this is Rithik. I just want to share my thoughts on the Red Bulls game. Just what a dire performance from both teams, really. I mean, it was devoid of any quality. Um, you know, I guess it was a good result in the end. Obviously, Chicago held Toronto to a draw, but if Toronto won their game, I mean, I would have been extremely infuriated by the fact that we didn't go for a win. Um, Man of the match, Bill Hamid, hands down. I mean, that save he made in the second half probably rivaled his save against Zlatan in the Galaxy game as his best of the season. Credit to Brian as well for his goal line clearance a few minutes earlier, but Wayne Rooney, very poor, and I would have liked to see him come off for Acosta like 20, 25 minutes earlier. But in the end, I guess it was a good result.
So, obviously, you made a couple of points there. One being about Rooney coming off sooner for Lucio Acosta, because that did happen late in the game. Void of any quality, and didn't think the game was that entertaining. So, Sarah can discuss.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I would call it devoid of any quality. To the point of Rooney not playing that well, I mean, I guess that's true. Pulling him out 20, 30 minutes earlier, I'm not necessarily sure that would have done anything. I think a lot of the times we think these things are very simple, just swap this player for that player, but I don't know, like maybe not even with that example, but maybe like talking about we didn't really go for the win, but I think maybe fans would be even more disappointed if we went for the win and then we ended up losing. So I think to put it in better perspective, I mean, I think it's totally fine that we did not just try to go all out for the win and ended up with a point instead of going all out and then giving up a goal. So that's kind of my perspective on that. Yeah, it definitely was a little scrappy. But I mean, I wouldn't necessarily describe it as devoid of quality. I think that's very harsh for a professional game like that. But yeah.
I would tend to agree with you, Ken, for sure. I mean, of course, I'm always disappointed when DC United doesn't take a win. But the positive results, I think, were far greater. We kept the clean sheet. We kept ahead of the Red Bulls. Those are two fantastic things. I mean, Bill Hamid's just having a season. Fred Brandt's having a season. They were both fantastic. Pulling Rooney off earlier, perhaps. That's a possibility. But again, these decisions do happen kind of, during the match. And I don't know what decision I would make if I were the coach, and I'm glad I never have to be in that position. However, you're thinking they're preparing to go up against Cincinnati. Whose legs are they trying to save? Are they trying to save Acosta's legs, perhaps, for a game that, we had hoped, again, we could win? So, very scrappy game. I think there were many more good points than there were poor points.
I mean, that's absolutely fair. And I would like to say that, as I said at the beginning of this little review, that point was a much better point for us than it was for the Red Bulls. And I would imagine there would have been someone on that bench that would have been keeping an eye on the results at Toronto against Chicago, and the fact that that they were held to a draw, that would have probably played into maybe the substitutions, how that was done, and obviously looking ahead to the game against Cincinnati. There was some good quality in the game in terms of keeping anyway, obviously from Bill Hamid, and our defence as well. Going forward, there was not much in terms of quality from our side of play, but I think that's been the whole thing of the whole season. We haven't been the best going forward, but we got a point, and that meant that we were still in fourth, and the fourth place, that home tie, that destiny was in our hands, and we had Cincinnati, the worst team in MLS, who have conceded the most amount of goals ever in MLS in our next game, and we were at Audi Field. And then we blew it. So we drew 0-0 against Cincinnati. As everyone you're listening, you probably know, and you're probably sick of hearing about. They were down to 9 men. Obviously, they had that double sending off in the space of 2 minutes. There was no play between it as well, so that's why I'm classing it as a double sending off. We had that goal disallowed, and we had loads of opportunities. But I want to talk about that double sending off, and firstly, the first sending off. Sarah, what did you make of that one?
So I was at Audi Field for that match, And so you're asking what I made of the double sending off of the players,
The
or just the match in general?
the first sending off out with the two.
So first of all, it was very confusing at first what was going on, and for us to even kind of tell from where we were with the play. Um, both sending offs, I would say, justified. And then, of course, these guys go down to 9 men. So, yeah, I'm still frustrated because that Cincinnati match was one that I was perhaps the most pumped up for all season. And we started with this great show, and then things just slowly went downhill from there. So not really great. But I really felt like we should have picked something up after that. And I know Segura had that goal shortly after that was then called back. just just not a good night or afternoon, I guess, for anyone who's a DC United fan.
Yeah. Ken, so Roland Lamar was sent off as well for violent conduct. What did you make of that's enough? Lamar raised his hand to Felipe Martin's neck. Granted, Martin's went down a bit theatrically, but do you think that was justified like Sarah does?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter if Felipe even goes down. You can't do that. I mean, yeah, so that one to me was way more of a red card than the other one, but I'm fine with both of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And what did you make of the game in total? Obviously, it was a bit of a frustrating game where we had many attempts on goal. And obviously, they were down to 9 men, and they were down to 9 men for almost 55 minutes.
I don't know if we had that many chances on goal. I think we had a lot of shots, but no, I thought we played pretty poorly against 9 men against a historically bad MLS team. We need to have won that game at least, a couple goals, right? Like that's pretty bad, and yeah, so that was pretty disappointing. And I was pretty upset about it, but I mean, it could have been worse. We could have lost to them, I guess, but no, I mean, we really wanted that home playoff game, and winning that game, I think, would have assured that we were going to be at home, and that's just kind of a failure on the part of, I guess, the coaching staff and the team. But we're still in the playoffs, so it's not a huge deal. But it definitely doesn't give me confidence of our ability to score goals for sure.
I think what was most frustrating was that second half. The first half, okay, it was chippy, it was dramatic. We had the 2 players sent off. Segura's goal was called back. But then we go into this second half where a 9-man FC Cincinnati is parking the bus. They went into, I think it was like a 5-3 they went into. And we were just showing all sorts of kind of like inability to get behind their back line. And I mean, their defending was fabulous from that respect, but just the frustration and then the time wasting.
Oh,
And
yes.
that for me, I think was even more frustrating. I know Bill doesn't often speak to the media after matches. He kind of stays in his head and does his own thing. And he spoke with us and he said, the players were time wasting. And he was upset about it, and rightfully so. And I feel like the referee just definitely lost control of the match in that second half.
Yeah, for me, in terms of the refereeing, it was incredibly poor. And especially the problem for me was that he booked one of their players within the first 15 minutes for, yes, it was a hard challenge, but it was the first one that he'd done. And when you set a precedent of booking someone for one foul, then you're going to get multiple bookings, and then you're going to get sending offs, and it's going to just deteriorate into this foul fest, and nobody wants to see that. But he didn't take control of the time waste, and I'm just looking at the stats of the game. The first kind of booking for time wasting was in the 85th minute, and they had been time wasting the whole entire half. And I took a lot of flack over on Twitter and on Facebook for my comments on the amount of time wasting. And that just goes to show that they were doing it, and it's very unsportsmanlike. It's taking gamesmanship to a whole new level. We know Quincy likes to get inside people's heads. That's another matter entirely. But time wasting, it's no one wants to see it. It makes the game boring, and it just makes the team look like a bunch of cheats in my head.
I'm with you. I've taken a lot of flack too, James, so you're not alone.
Yeah, I kind of feel. I mean, I don't know. When I saw the game and the game ended, I wasn't even thinking about the time wasting. And it kind of disappoints me that Bill would say that to the media and kind of make an excuse. Honestly, I feel like to me anyway, that's like a really big excuse. Like, you're against a 9-man historically bad MLS team, and you're going to talk about the maybe 5 minutes combined time wasting. I don't know. I mean, you had 80 to 90 minutes to win. So I don't know. I don't feel like that's something that the players should focus on or really even be talking about, because they didn't perform. They didn't put the ball in the back of the net. So I don't know. I came out of it with a very different perspective, to be honest.
I think what Bill was saying, and he was definitely not making an excuse for the team. That was just one part of what he said. But I think he was just expressing some frustration, and he definitely did do his job that night. So I think if anyone can say something, it is Bill. But he definitely did say, okay, you know what, we just need to forget this, and we do need to move on because our next focus is Toronto. But just for him to acknowledge it, he generally does not, come out with anything. So
I think it's something that, yes, you don't want to be making excuses for, well, what was I don't want to say it was a poor performance, because we attacked quite a lot. I think tactically we should have done a lot better in the second half anyway. I feel like we should have had a striker on, another one, and not subbed a striker off for a striker, which you had Quincy going off for Ola Kamara. I didn't understand that particular decision. I would have brought a defender off, because they had the only player up top at the time was Ledesma, and that was just like, right, okay, you've got a short man who's not the strongest, he's slightly quick, and you're expecting him to hold up the ball and score a goal for Cincinnati. I would have expected us to have gone to maybe a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3 formation in the second half, but hey ho, that's another matter entirely.
Yeah, the one thing that I would say is also that I kind of mentioned it before, but we had 32 shots, and only 3 of them were on target, and we also had 15 corners. So I don't know, like, to me that screams really, really bad, and definitely not something that's going to work in like a playoff game. So no. I don't know.
But then we also had 12 attempts blocked as well, which kind of shows you actually Cincinnati were defending really well as well. So we've got to give some credit to Cincinnati, because they defended with their lives, and they've, to be honest, over the last few games, they've not conceded that many goals. I think they've conceded 1 or 2. So they have improved since they've got their new head coach in, which is always a worry when you get a new head coach, and they usually have a nice honeymoon period. But we've got to give some credit to Cincinnati for their defensive performance.
I give them all the credit in the world, and I think that next season they're definitely going to be a team that's much more dangerous than they were this season. So I think it's good. Elevating the level of play is good for everyone.
Well, to be honest, they couldn't get much worse, could they?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it feels like it's because we have tied against 9 men and it was the bottom of the table team. It feels like it's the end of the world right now. But it isn't. We do have the playoffs. But before we kind of review our next game, preview the next game against Toronto, I want to kind of reflect on the regular season and kind of find out what's been the best moments and our favourite times of the season, because we've had many lows, but I want to talk about the highlights because I like to be positive and I like to be optimistic. if you don't mind, I'm just going to run through some stats with you guys about the regular season. So we finished on 50 points, and yes, we tied with Toronto, and there was only one goal difference between the two of us, so it was very, very close. We won 13 times, we had 10 defeats and 11 ties. Compared to 2018, we finished on 51 points, so we were 1 point worse off this season. We won 14 times last season, but we lost 11 times, so we actually got defeated one less time in 2019, and we drew 9 times. Last season, we had a better goal difference. We also scored 60 goals in 2018, where we've only scored 42 times in 2019. Our road record was incredibly improved this year, where we got 23 points in 2019. 2018, we only got 10 points on the road. So for you guys, as an overall, how have you made the season? And do you think it's been on paper, it hasn't really been an improvement, but in an overall aspect, do you think we've moved forwards in any aspect?
No, but I don't think we've really moved backward, I guess. I don't know. I think we have a lot of fundamental issues that were there last year and that were there even during that big run we had last year. Mostly that, I think we were vastly overperforming in that run. A lot of the shots we had, the percentage of them that went in was unsustainably high. And you can kind of track this using expected goals and expected goals against, and those are relatively similar this year as they were for last year. And so we have we're vastly overperforming what the statistics say we should be doing. And even though we only have quote unquote only have 50 points, we're still overperforming what the models say that we should be doing. So that kind of concerns me. And I think going into next season that we really need to figure that out in terms of playing style and stuff like that.
That's a really interesting point that you're making there, Ken, for sure. I feel like if we look back at 2018 and after the arrival of Wayne Rooney, we definitely did end that season on a high note. And of course, all the good was fresh in everyone's mind, the Lucharu partnership and all just that incredible making of Audi Field into a fortress. And I feel that when we started 2019, we started reasonably strong. We took down Atlanta United in our first match, which was a great signaler of, hey, DC is here and they're not messing around. They're here to win. But as the season's gone on, like you were saying, Ken, a lot of the issues that were there before have come back. I don't necessarily feel that we are in a worse place. Definitely the Rooney-Acosta partnership has dropped off and has not been the difference maker it was last season. But we're losing Rooney for sure at the end of this season, possibly losing Acosta. He's been benched and is now a super sub. And I think we've brought on players and developed players that are much more well-rounded now. Segura, for one, has definitely stepped up and stepped into a role. I mean, if we look at our last match, he was the only one that found the back of the net, offside or not. So I have to give credit there. Paul Arriola has developed incredibly this season as well. And we've just brought on players that are capable of working at that high work rate that we need. We need to focus on the issues that we have with our attack for sure, but I don't think we're necessarily in the worst place.
Oh, that's fair. We are in playoffs, which is great to be back in there again for the second season in a row now. It's where we should always be, really, when you look at our history. But at the moment, it does feel like, and again, this is mainly down to the fact that we've not scored enough goals this season. It does feel like we're not doing as well as we should be. We've got players, I feel, that could be performing a lot better. There's just not been enough consistency in the forward lineup. And whether that's down to Rodriguez, Rooney, Costa, Areola, Segura, Stieber at the start of the season when he played that 2 times, they've just not been good enough at all. And I feel the turning point for that attack going downhill was that PSG deal with Acosta and it falling through. Even though that was before the season had begun, I feel like that's where it kind of dropped off. And we spoke about it many times on this podcast already this season, about Acosta's head being turned, but I do feel like that's been the main turning point of our year.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, like I think the players haven't done enough, but I really don't think that they've been set up for success. And it kind of goes back to the style of play and even like patterns of play and stuff that I don't know if they just don't exist and people are just winging it, or they're just not good. But it's even hard to even really analyze it because the games are very much you don't really see them consistently. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think we're definitely not in a worse place, but I think we started out at not a great place, and we're still in a not a great place, in my opinion. And so yeah.
Yeah. And do you think that just one thing that just popped into my head actually is the amount of injuries that we've had this season. Do you think that's actually had an effect on our performance throughout the season?
I don't necessarily know if the injuries have had a major effect. I think Ken he kind of hit the nail on the head with the consistency and just not enough consistent play. My question to both of you, though, would be, because I'm just stumped, like what would be the difference maker for DC United that could kind of snap us out of the funk we've been in?
A good coach.
Fair. I would go for we need a bit of flair, but then again, that I would say a bit more passion as well, and that comes down to the coach at the end of the day. He's the one who needs to instill that confidence in the team. He's the one who needs to get that team talk, to get the team rattled up, ready for the game. And I want to see a bit more consistency in the style of play. And I think for me, I think the injuries have caused a bit of an issue throughout the season, because if you look at it, our formation under Ben Olsen is 4-2-3-1. When we started running out of fullbacks, we had to change our formation, our style of play. So that has made our team go, actually, this is completely new now. We need to change it, the way we work. We need to change our pattern of play. We had to go to 3 centre backs, which you don't see that often in any league really. And I feel like, again, the injuries would have caused that, but again, that's down to the coach to have got the team prepared for any eventuality. So he should have been aware that this could have been a possibility, and he should have had a plan B and a plan C and a plan D and a plan E, and so on and so forth.
100% on that. And kind of my major complaint the entire season is that players have not consistently had enough minutes on the field. So when they are subbed in, they're able to seamlessly join up with the team and make a difference, or they're subbed in too late.
So are you talking about the 87th minute substitutions by Ben Olsen?
I might be. I might be. But just the fact that I feel, too, when you substitute someone in the 87th minute or in the 90th minute, and you give them maybe that 5 minutes, in my opinion, and again, this is not putting anything on Ben Olsen because I'm not in his head. Maybe Quincy is in his head. I am not in his head, but it signals distrust to me when you're just giving someone those few minutes. And okay, maybe they're a huge difference maker, but 5 minutes generally just isn't enough. They need 20 minutes or 15 minutes to get in there, link up with the team, and make a difference. So that to me is another kind of issue altogether. But
I totally agree with that. And I think, again, we might have spoken about it on previous podcasts. I might have spoken on when I've been on my own. But the substitutions, when they come in at the 87th minute, they are pointless. The only reason I would have a substitution after 80th minute is if there's an injury.
Hmm.
That's the only time I would have it. There's just no need. You've not got enough time to make an impact on the game. The only time you're going to make an impact on the game if you're coming in that late is if your first touch goes into the back of the net.
Absolutely.
Ken, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty well known that statistically, when you sub earlier, that you're more likely to win games. And so I don't know if I don't know. I mean, I assume that they have data scientists and stuff. Um, and I don't know. I mean, they need to sub more and more frequently and sooner. Um, I would be curious to see how many minutes substitutes got for all the teams in the league and see where we ranked. But my guess is it would be in probably the bottom 1%, to be honest, which I guess would just be last. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, I kind of get it. I don't necessarily know if it's the worst thing ever to sub someone in, even if they don't make an impact. I don't really know, but really, like, if we're down and you needed to do something that needed to happen the 60th, 70th, or earlier minute. So yeah.
Should we move on to some highlights, some positive notes?
I love it.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
I love it.
Sure.
Let's do it. I'm getting
Right.
sad over here.
So, again, this is over the regular season. Ken, I'm going to ask you this one first. What has been your game of the season?
Oh, geez. Wow. Probably. I think it was that. Honestly, my favorite game to watch was against RSL in the beginning of the year. I think we beat them like 5-0 or something, and I think they had multiple red cards. That was probably my favorite game to watch. So
Yeah.
I'll put that as my game of the season, even though it seems kind of boring, I guess.
Sarah?
Game of the season for me would definitely be the season opener between DC United and Atlanta United, just based on the sheer amount of hope that that match gave me, and also just the tenacity and the fire that the players brought to that match. It was a feel-good match for sure, even though I couldn't feel my toes because it was so cold out.
If I remember rightly, that was an absolute bit of a washout as well, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it was freezing and it was raining, and yeah.
I think for me, my game of the season is going to be the game against Seattle Sounders.
Ooh.
Because the crowd were phenomenal in that game. From my point of view, it's when I'm watching it on TV, that's what I can obviously feed off on. So for me, that was the game of the season. But me being at the ground back in April, that was actually, that's going to be another moment. So I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, Seattle Sounders, my favourite game of the season because we played really well in that game as well. We played with a lot of passion. The crowd were phenomenal and I enjoyed it. I'm going to ask you this one first, Sarah. So the next bit, goal of the season.
Oh, no contest. That Wayne Rooney own half goal against Orlando City, for sure. That was just a banger.
Ken, do I need to ask you?
Well, okay, so definitely that one. But the other goal that I would say was really impressive was that TT Rodriguez one off the corner.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, that was a
So, yeah, but yeah, the Wayne Rooney was obviously goal of like the year, but that Lucas Rodriguez one was, at that time, I thought was going to be up there as the goal of the year for a while.
Can I also mention the Wayne Rooney goal against Orlando in Orlando?
Oh,
That free
my
kick?
gosh, yes.
So that was that one as well. So we've had quite a few good goals. That's what
Every time we play against Orlando and Wayne Rooney just does something incredible.
He's just, I don't know what it is about him and that team, but it just brings out the best in him. I also want to mention another goal. The first goal for Ola Kamara against the Red Bulls.
Oh, that was beautiful.
That was a lovely little curler into the top corner as well.
Oh, that was gorgeous.
So, but the goal of the season has got to be the Wayne Rooney goal from his own half. I think we were all in agreement on that one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the goal of the season for sure.
Yeah. And if you haven't voted on the MLS Soccer website, get on there and vote for that goal, because
right now.
Do it. Pause the podcast, load up the website, and just vote. I will allow you to do that. So do it. Do it now. Do it. And we're back. So the last bit of the regular season reflection, as I'm going to call it, is your favourite moment of the season. This can be anything. Just things in my head is obviously things like the return of Chris Sadoy-Achsam, Paul Ariola's goal celebration where he took his shoe off and was calling his dad in the heavens above. But there's many, many moments of the season. Ken, what has been your favourite moments of 2019?
Geez. Oh, man, I'm trying to think. There's been a lot. I would say, geez.
I'll put you on the spot here, haven't I?
Yeah, this one's very difficult. I don't know. I mean, I think there's been a lot. I would say, I guess from recent memory, the tifo from the latest game was a pretty big moment for me, I think. I thought that was pretty cool. I think a lot of that stuff that recently has been pretty awesome. I don't know about moment of the season, but I thought that one was a highlight for me of the season. Cool. But I don't know of a good moment for the whole season.
Oh man, there's just so many beautiful moments and funny moments and exciting moments. Quincy messing with Zlatan was definitely up there on my top funny moments. Also, when Robert Gillespie came back and saw Audi Field for the first time, and there was this moment where Ben Olsen was giving him a hug after the match because they're old friends, and that was just incredibly emotional and just kind of a historic moment for sure. Bedoya from Philadelphia taking the field level mic to protest gun violence in the United States. Just so many moments that were really powerful and historic moments.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some that I hadn't even remembered about. Especially the Bedoya one there. That completely slipped my mind. I think for me, the Areola celebration was kind of one of those big moments. Personally, me going back to Audi Field on my birthday and being in the supporters section, that was fantastic. But my biggest moment of the season is launching this podcast and making so many friends throughout it, interviewing so many people. It's just been, sorry, I'm actually tearing up. It's been an absolute fantastic 2019 for me. I've learned a lot about myself doing this show. I've met you guys. You've been fantastic. The fact that I've been able to interview the likes of Quincy, Steve Birnbaum, Fred Brion, going back to Audi Field, meeting up with Dave, who was my first guest on the show, speaking to Rory, Dave, Johnson. It's just been an absolute fantastic 2019. So I can't really nail a moment of the season for me personally. It's just been a fantastic 2019.
Oh, James. And you're going to have a little baby.
Yeah, and it's not just a little baby. It's a little baby boy.
Eee, so excited.
Future DC United player. I mean, obviously he can do whatever he wants, but as long as he plays for DC United. That's it. That is the goal. yeah, I mean that's obviously been a huge part, and obviously that will be the biggest thing that's happened to me this year, bar none. But yeah, little baby boy is on his way. He is due at the end of February. So he will be seeing the 2020 season.
Yeah, I'm about to say, just
Yeah.
in time for the season.
Yeah, he will be there, hopefully watching the opener alongside me, whilst I'll be up at whatever time o'clock in the morning it is, when he's needing a feed or whatever. But yes,
Oh, he'll be up with you. Don't worry.
yeah, and I'm also thankful that I've got the first 14 weeks off of his birth as well. That's going to be unbelievable. So many, many happy memories to make in 2020. Just before we kick on to the second half of the show, we're just going to head off to a little break. So we'll be back in a minute or two. So stay tuned. We will be back shortly. And we are back. That song you've just heard there, that is done by Snake City, and it's called Underwater. And right now, that is actually one of my favourite songs of the moment. I've been listening to it many, many times. So hit up the show notes, click through. You can get it on iTunes, Google Play, wherever. It's on Spotify. Give it a listen, give it a download, give it a purchase it. It's an absolute fantastic tune. The second half of the show, we're going to be concentrating on the match preview against Toronto. So we're going on to the playoffs now and the postseason. So obviously we've qualified for the playoffs. It's a bit of a road game. Firstly, are we better playing away from Audi Field going into this game, or do you think we would have been better being at home?
That's a tough one. So our road record has been phenomenal, but there's just something about Toronto and going to Toronto. I know Nick DeLeon's up there, and I'm sure he's waiting for DC United to get there. And he had that one goal down at Audi Field that I know he had marked his calendar for that match. So I don't know, they're a dangerous team, so we're gonna see.
Yeah, I think we would have been better off at home. I think playoffs are a little bit different, more intense. That support could be the little extra edge, especially when you're literally playing for your life and not just, oh yeah, we'll make the playoffs in a little bit better of a spot, So, yeah, I wish we had been at Audi Field, but Toronto, they're a really good team. They started out the year really, really strong. And then they kind of didn't do so well for a while, and then they kind of started to kick back into gear. So, yeah, I mean, we don't know if Josie Altidore will play. He seems to be a little hurt. They have, I think, De Leon's there, so that'll be interesting, especially considering the playoff game last year that we lost on. So, yeah.
Obviously, that game that we had at BMO earlier on in the season where Bill Hamid broke a record.
Oh my gosh.
Can we use that as any benchmark going into this game, do you reckon? Or because it was such a long time ago, we just need to forget about that game and start afresh on this new one?
I hope we don't. I mean, I hope Bellamy doesn't have to break any records this time. That'd be really nice.
It would be nice, yes.
It'd be nice for one part of the season that doesn't involve Bill Hamid having to be like a titan of goalkeepers. Even though we know he's capable, it might be nice for the rest of the team to give him a little break. But no, yeah, I mean, we really, really sat back in that game, and that was intense. So I'm hoping that we don't necessarily go that far back, but I mean, I don't know.
If I remember rightly, in that game we were down to 10 men as well, because I remember Akeem Ward having to come off earlier on in the game, and who was it? Rooney who got sent off in that game, or was it somebody else?
I think it might have been Areola. Was that the game he stomped on that guy?
No, that was the Dynamo game, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the
Oh, yeah,
Dynamo.
you're right.
I'm certain we were down to 10 men. Let me just bring that game up.
Costa.
That match was just dodgeball
It,
for poor Bill Hamid. Honestly, Bill, if you ever want to like form a dodgeball team, like can I be on your team? I don't ever want to play against you, but I think we could have some fun.
he's just an unbelievable keeper, and again, how he's still not in that US men's team is just, I don't know.
My mind is blown over that still.
I'm still trying to find it. I don't think we were actually down to 10 men.
I don't believe we were, but I know that oh my gosh, just how
Rooney
many
wasn't
shots.
playing. Quincy made his first start for the club, and so did Akeem Ward. We were just defensive.
I wonder if that's what it was. Wasn't that one of the first matches that Rooney hadn't started?
I believe so, actually. Yeah, that would make sense. And the only other time I know he didn't start was on the game against Montreal when we were playing at Audi Field, because that was the game I went to, and he got sent off against LAFC. I was really annoyed about that one.
I would have been annoyed
yeah,
too.
that LAFC game. Forgot about that.
Yeah, we all forget about that one. But yeah, so we can't.
That was painful.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
No, we're going to leave that one. But yeah, so that game we can't really use as a benchmark. We don't want Bill Hamid to do his heroics yet again. Toronto are on a hell of a run at the moment. I think they're unbeaten in 10, if I remember rightly. What's going to be the key for us to actually get this win at BMO this time round?
Shots on target.
Yep, that does help.
We have a killer defense. Oh, sorry, Ken.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say we definitely have our defensive piece down. We just need to get our attacking piece and that accuracy there.
Yeah, totally. I think another key is going to be utilizing set pieces. We have been a pretty good set piece team this year, but not so much necessarily recently. I mean, I mentioned in our last game we had 15 corner kicks, but we didn't really utilize them, and that's a lot of corner kicks. But so yeah, using those as a way to create pretty good chances, I think is a skill of ours, and I think we need to use that. So that would be my key to the game, is to be good on set pieces.
Absolutely fair. The Wayne Rooney, he's obviously going to be returning. In your eyes, guys, would you start him in this game?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes,
Even
but not an immediate yes.
Because he's not been playing well at all since he's announced his move to Derby County. If Kamara's fully fit, I'd be starting him instead of Wayne Rooney, because Kamara's already shown that he can put the ball in the back of the net, whilst Wayne Rooney hasn't scored since July.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think, I mean, yeah, again, like I said, it's not an immediate for me. I think Rooney is someone who, um, I don't know. It seems like he would be able to perform in these games. Um, so I don't know. I'd really like him to come out and again, like I said, on set pieces for our team, no one's better on them than Rooney, right? Those free kicks that he's been able to get in, and so that's really where like I look at it. I'm like that could be the difference maker, and we've seen that a couple times this season where like one or two Rooney free kicks turns into one or two goals. So yeah, I mean it's hard for me to pass that kind of thing like over. So I don't know.
I think just looking at the playoff format, right? So we're going to go into this first match, and correct me if I'm wrong. So if we lose, we're knocked out, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So my way of thinking, because the way to win is to score goals. In this scenario, we can't just get away with a draw. We can't do it. It's
We
not
could.
going to happen. Well,
If we go to penalties.
No.
no,
Not
no.
again. I don't want to do that.
But so James, this still involves us scoring goals at some point during the match, correct?
That's true, yes.
So I would say in my crazy bit of strategy, put on whoever can score goals.
I mean that's totally fair.
Because really, sitting back and parking the bus is not going to do us very much good in this scenario.
No. But the one thing I would say, this is a time for Ben Olsen to use Benny Ball.
Oh my goodness.
But if you think about it, we get that sneaky goal. We've got that heck of a defense. We know we can keep them out. And all he needs to win a playoff tie is just one goal. That's how I see it. Is
That's what they will do, yes.
yeah.
But
And we've been the kings of doing that. When we've gone into the lead, we've not got beat or drawn, from what I remember. So if we go in the lead, we've won.
So who can score the earliest goal possible? I'm going to need to look at our statistics from all of our past matches and figure this out. Who has the greatest probability? So I'll get back to you guys on that.
Send a tweet out on that one.
Yeah, I need to do a deep dive into this because now I'm curious.
But yeah, that's how I'm seeing the whole playoff format. You've got the likes of LAFC who've banged in goals left, right, and centre for fun, but they could also concede quite a few as well, which I've noticed this season. So they're not being the best defensively. It's not about how many goals you can score. It's about just getting that one goal, and outscoring your opponent obviously to win. But if you can keep a hold of that lead, you've done the trick and you've won the game and you're through to the next round. So I think this could play into our hands in the way we play soccer. Nearly said the F word. And the way we play our soccer, it could be great for us actually, the playoff format, and I think we might do it. And that's just me being so optimistic again.
I like it.
They're definitely going to do a counterattacking. That's what they're going to do. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of risky. I mean, our defense is really, really, really good. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to be taking a record-breaking amount of shots, it's very unlikely you make it out alive. So yeah.
Yeah. I think we need our paciest players for this game as well, because they're, again, from the previous game, and speaking into people who were fans of Toronto previously as well, they don't have the quickest wingers. So we'll need Areola on the wing for this game, I would say, rather than being behind Wayne Rooney or whoever's the striker in this game. So unfortunately, it would mean sitting out Segura in this particular one, and potentially bringing Acosta back into this game, because he can unlock a defence very easily as long as his head's in the right place. That's how I would have it start. Everyone else would stay the same in terms of the lineup. Keep Canals at right back because he's been a revelation there.
Oh my gosh, he's been fabulous there.
Yeah, can we just take a moment just to appreciate Knaus at right back? Because, he's been absolutely fantastic since he started there, and we've not conceded since he's moved there.
It's been pretty fabulous. So here's my question. So if Kamara is fit, do we move Rooney back to the 10 and put Kamara up top? Or do we keep Rooney up top and put Acosta at the 10 where he always plays?
That's
I would do none of those because
what
do we do? What do we do, Ken?
I think those are options. I don't think Acosta's going to he's not going to start, I don't think. So I think he's kind of ruled out. I think what they're going to do is they're going to keep Areola in that center position, and they're going to keep TT and Segura on those wings, and they're going to put Rooney in as the striker. And I think if they're going to counterattack, they're going to use Areola to lead those, and obviously not Rooney necessarily, unless he's just holding the ball up. But yeah, I don't think we can afford to have Acosta in the lineup really for a playoff game when we really need to focus on defending and not letting a goal in. He's a huge defensive liability, and him versus Areola in that spot is just such a big difference in terms of like energy and the speed. So I don't know. I don't see Acosta really coming in there.
Fair enough. I can totally get that point of view. Can I just bring in one of our listeners into this right now in terms of the talk of the Toronto game? Our good friend Rithik Patel has sent in a voice message. I'm just going to play this, and he's got a couple of questions in there. So obviously it's related to this game. So let's just listen to Rithik and see what he's got to say.
Hi guys. I want to know your thoughts on whether you think the media is underestimating our chances against Toronto. I sort of feel like it's a blessing in disguise that we got the away playoff game. We've been very inconsistent at home this season. We've produced great performances like against RSL and Seattle, but then we've also, produced crap performances like against Cincinnati. And, don't get me wrong, in a way, I wish we had the home playoff games just to experience a packed Audi field with excellent atmosphere. But we've been, very hard to play against away from home this season as well. And also, there's the possibility of Josie Altidore not starting for them. So I feel like we do have a chance of beating Toronto.
So the media. I've not seen much about the media because in the UK, it's not the playoffs weekend just yet, so there's not much hype about it just yet. So over in the States, this is kind of a question for you guys. How has the media been playing out for this playoff run? And have they been downplaying our chances? And is that a good thing for us?
Yeah, I mean, when I hear people predicting who's going to win, I never have heard DC really. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think they're underestimating us because I think that's a perfect estimation of where we are, to be honest. So I would say that people don't see us winning, but I think that that's a reasonable take to have from the outside.
I'd have to be with you on that, Ken. Yeah, I definitely have not seen a lot of prediction of DC United being the kind of go ahead for the win. I also, though, have seen a lot in the media of, okay, DC's away form is better, and the question of Josie Altidore playing, although I am hearing that he may be better for that match. So it's going to be a wait and see for sure.
In one-off ties, I don't think you can really predict who will win because it's a game which should hopefully bring out all-out attack because you're obviously going to want to win the game, and to win the game, as you already said, Sarah, you need to score goals. And the only way you can score goals is by attacking and hitting the target, unless you get a lucky deflection off a Toronto defender and it goes in the back of the net. Like I said, I've not seen anything over here. So UK press coverage of the MLS playoffs has been pretty much nil. But I expect going into this coming week, and especially going into Thursday, Friday time, I will expect to see quite a bit on there. Hopefully, it's going to be widely on TV as well, because that would be awesome to see games on there. And I have just loaded up what is live on Sky Sports, the main broadcaster over here. We have got many games on TV. You've got the Atlanta game, you've got the Seattle game, and you've got our game all on Sky Sports, which is fantastic.
That's amazing.
That's absolutely awesome. All three Eastern Conference and all three Western Conference games as well.
Wow, that's better than here. I see.
So all on the same channel as well. So you don't need to flick around or anything. So if you're listening and you are a fan of another team, well, welcome to the show. Come over to literally the dark side, the black and red side. But literally, if you're in the UK, it's all on Sky Sports Football. It's fantastic. So the coverage over here in the UK for MLS has been phenomenal. It's pretty much every single game. No, actually, every single game is accessible in one way or another. So whether it's through Sky Sports or whether it's through Premier Sports or Free Sports or through one of the betting websites like Bet365 where you can stream the game without the commentary, you can literally watch every single game. And we've got to commend that as well. So the coverage over here in 2019 has been absolutely fantastic.
I think you all are almost doing better for coverage than we are in a lot of cases.
Well, you guys had to deal with Flow FC, didn't you?
But Flow FC is done.
Yes. I'm
Can
so
we take
pleased
a
for you
moment
guys.
and appreciate that?
I know my moment of the season now.
That is it. Right there.
I'm so pleased for you guys to not have to deal with Flow FC anymore, because that was a joke. And that's putting it nicely.
I mean, I felt bad because it was so obvious that DC was shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, bars couldn't get it working. People just didn't want it. People were not doing it. People were not watching. So I mean, I felt bad for the team. Like it's like self-destructive behavior by the team, honestly. So I'm glad it's done. That they've turned course.
I'm so thrilled, and I just want to see, Dave Johnson, Devin McTavish stay on board. That's all I want. But Flo, bye.
Yeah. Don't forget Joanna as well, because she's been pretty good on the old commentary as well, hasn't she?
I love Jo so much. She's brilliant, and the way she sees the game is incredible. She's really great to watch. I hope she's on a lot more.
So we're coming up to kind of the end parts of the show. So it's the second to last part of the show, so we've still got one more bit after this, so it's not quite the full end. It's a section which is new to the show, and I've got to thank my wife for this one, because she mentioned it to me, and I thought, you know what, that's actually a really good idea. So it's a section called Unpopular Opinions, and it's kind of, I've asked for some unpopular opinions out there. I've not had any sent through to myself, but Sarah, I understand you have. I mean, I would probably say it's a popular opinion, but it's an unpopular situation, I would rather say.
Ooh, that's a good way to describe it, James, for sure. So I guess my unpopular opinion / unpopular situation is, can we please stop ripping on players and coaches personally and attacking them personally? If you want to say something about their performance, great. But the amount of just absolutely garbage things that I've seen on social media personally targeting players and coaches, it's gross. You just make yourself look dumb. Please stop saying these things. Critique their performance. You'll look a lot smarter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think it's just from a DC United point of view either. It's a worldwide thing, because there's been a lot of coverage in the press over here anyway, about people being racist and things like that. And it's just like, no, that's not cool. You don't make yourself look big or clever. You look like a bit of a. I'm gonna have to put a beep in there. It's just, it's not right. It's you just look at you're a keyboard warrior. Would you say that to that person's face in not even on the pitch? I've heard people shout hurl abuse at players. That's kind of part and parcel. I still don't agree with it, but it's on social media. No, come on, get a grip, get over yourselves. As Sarah said, critique their performance. Don't critique the person, please.
Especially if you're not going to use your real name and you're hiding behind an avatar, you're a coward.
Yeah. Ken, any opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm tired of it too. It's extremely toxic, and I don't know, like, if that's just going to be your thing, then just get out of the community.
Yeah, absolutely on board with that. Hopefully on the next show, we'll have some more unpopular opinions, whether it's funny ones, whether it's something serious, something that we just need to get off our chests. We'll talk about that on the next show. We're coming up to the final part. Guys, do you want to do the tweeted questions or the voice questions first?
Ooh, we get a choice. I don't know. Maybe we'll the tweeted questions, because the voice recorded ones are like even 10 times, I don't know, funnier, or I don't know. It's great just to have people kind of come on the show. Up
Cool.
to you, James. Your show, not ours.
Oh, well, you're my guests after all. Yeah, let's do the tweeted ones. So first up is Zach. You will find him at PP Hull City, because he's a Hull City fan in the USA. Do you guys have you ever come across Hull City Football Club?
Yeah, I know of Hull City.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're not a huge team, so fair play for supporting them in the States. His first thing is he asks, how about Olsen out? Team is stagnant with him at the helm. We've kind of covered this off already on the show. It's getting to the point where, yes, we are a little bit stagnant, and we've talked about how we've gone from 2018 to 2019, and we've not really moved anywhere. We've become stagnant, as you rightly said there. It's because again, and we've spoke about it on the show before, where he's a great guy, and we don't really want to see him leave the club altogether. But something fresh in the back room, I think, is going to be the way forward. Whether it's a new assistant coach to help him along, someone with a bit of experience, or whether they change the roles around and Olsen goes up into the front office. I don't want to see Olsen go because he's a legend. But as a head coach, I would think a change is about right now. Any thoughts, Sarah and Ken?
I definitely agree that, we'd like to see Ben stay at DC United in some capacity, but I think some sort of shake-up would be a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's time. I mean, I would be absolutely shocked if they didn't do something after this season, unless we win MLS Cup. Honestly, I think that the front office is aware of the issues, and that we are actually overperforming for what we're doing here. So I think it's pretty obvious that it's time. It's probably been time for a while now. So yeah, I mean, I don't think at this point that it can be just switching up the assistant coaches. I think it needs to be a full sweep, because I think it's time, unfortunately.
Just a little question to go on from that from myself anyway. Let's put it there. We win the MLS Cup. We come in 2019. November rolls around and we're celebrating like there's no tomorrow. Does Ben still keep his job, or would you still get rid of him?
How do we win the cup? What's the situation? Is it
we beat the rest of the teams?
No, you know what I mean.
So it just gets to the point where we've won the Eastern Conference. We're playing LAFC in the final. We beat them 1-0 in classic Benny fashion. but nobody's truly happy that we've done it. They're happy that we've won the cup and there's another trophy in the cabinet, but there's still the signs there that we're still not quite where we should be and we're still stagnant and we've kind of fluked it.
Nah, I would still say bye. I mean, I don't think that luck is enough to keep a coaching job at this point.
I'm going to say it has to do, for me at least, with how we would win the playoff matches and how we would win the cup. And if it's tactical and it's clever and it's not just by chance, then maybe there's some room for discussion there. But I also am starting to feel like us getting to the playoffs, there was a little while we were nervous about that too. So we have to think about it.
That's true. That's cool. Next question is from Timothy. And if you want to find him on Twitter, it's at Medieval Wishes. And I think this is a cracking question. He asks, will a DCU post-Rooney be the same as a DCU pre-Rooney? Who wants to answer that one? I'm gonna pick Ken. Go answer that one.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't even see how current Rooney is different than pre-Rooney. So probably. I would say there was, a couple months where I thought the organization had turned around, and that a lot of different things had changed and all that stuff. But this year, I mean, I think it's just kind of the same old, right? Like, we're able to spend a little bit more money, actually a decent amount more than we have in a long time. Probably because we have our own stadium, and we're getting those revenues. But yeah, I mean, I don't really see too terribly much. I'm encouraged by some of the recent efforts to show like some of the legacy stuff. That's been encouraging, but there really needs to be a shake-up, I think.
I think there's a lot more attention on the club now, for sure. So I think in that aspect, things are going to be different. But yeah, we need to change some things for sure.
And off the field, I think we've seen this kind of the start of a post-Rooney, especially in the social media side of things. They've upped their game massively in the last month or two. Hopefully that continues going forward, and they'll keep creating great content on the pitch. It does remind me of when we had Saborio and those kind of players where there were middle rank MLS players that weren't great and there was no real proper star player in the side. I think Kamara could be that star player and Areola going forward. But we need to make some big changes, I think, if we're going to be successful in a post-Rooney era.
Yeah, I mean, you also look at the value of our squad is in like the top 5 teams in MLS, and we're the 5th just in our conference. Like it's very weird, and we're not doing as well as we should be doing. So I don't even think with all these like bringing in another top level player isn't going to solve anything. And bringing in Rooney didn't solve anything. I mean, it's great that he got a lot more global recognition for us, and we have a lot more fans, I guess, maybe. But I mean, the damage that Flow has done, even just by just itself, it has probably more than offset any benefit, to be quite honest. In the area you need it the most. You don't need fans everywhere if you can't even show the games to your fans within 2 miles of the stadium.
Yeah.
True point there. I think we did a lot of ruling out casual new fans this season with the Flow deal, so that didn't help at all.
Yeah, I think if you can't, as you said, Ken, if you can't broadcast it to your home fans, then what should you be able to do? You shouldn't be able to go and get new fans from further afield. You got to look after your local community first, I reckon, before you can kind of move further afield, which is weird for me saying that, seeing as I'm thousands of miles away.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like running an organization basics like 101, right? Like, if you don't show the games to people who might come to your stadium, how are you going to make money? I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah. Let's move on to the third and final tweeted question anyway. Aaron Motes, back again, after he commented about the Red Bulls game earlier on. He asked, since Acosta is not starting anymore, would it be more effective playing Rooney at the number 10 role with Kamara up top, if he's fully fit, and leaving Areola on the wing? I think we briefly mentioned about that in the preview game against Toronto.
I mean, I kind of like that idea. I think that's interesting. I wouldn't be against it.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to get Kamara on, I think that might be your best option. I don't know, because at that point you have to leave either TT Rodriguez or Segura out. And honestly, both of them are playing better than Rooney is, so I don't know.
Fair. I mean, what should happen is when you look at the lineups, you should be basing it on recent form and how they've been playing. So to me, Rooney just doesn't even get in the side right now, as I mentioned earlier. But that's not a bad way of doing it, because Rooney's vision when he's on fire is like nobody else's. He can pick a pass and he can see plays happening way before it's actually even begun. So having him a little bit deeper wouldn't be a bad thing. Obviously, he can hit a ball from range and score a goal, which we all know about, as we've seen this season. But it's not a bad thing. And Areola on the wing, he's got his pace, and we should be using that to its full extent. He has missed quite a few opportunities when he's been through on goal. So keeping him away from that and having Rooney on those chances, that could be a better situation. I'm not against doing it. Let's put it that way.
Should we move on? Oh, sorry.
No, yeah. Carry on.
All I was going to say, I'm still like living in this very optimistic mindset where, Wayne kind of comes back and really gets into it and starts playing like his old self, and we win the cup, and then he can go, back home with an MLS Cup in DC United's trophy cabinet. So
that would be the fairy tale, wouldn't it? That would be a hell of a way to send him off. But shall we move on to the voice questions?
Yes.
Yeah. And so knows. Hopefully I've got this the right way around. So I'm going to get the question that's been aimed at you, Sarah, first, because I want to do that. Yeah. Here we go. Hopefully this is the right one. If not, I'm answering the question first because it'll be aimed at me. Here we go.
Hi, my question, this is going for Sarah. I'm happy we made up. If DC wins against Toronto, are you already having the plan of coming to the Bay Apple with us here to come see your team play and lose? I'm just saying because we're very confident, yeah. Because we already know Quincy's coming to New York next season, and
I think we're just going to make it obvious. That's Antonio. And Antonio is a New York City FC fan, isn't he?
Oh, he is. He is. And he also has his Host Talk podcast, which is all of his great takes. So Antonio, a few things. Definitely glad we made up. I care. So I definitely am planning on coming up to New York. However, I think your outline of the plan is a little incorrect. I am not planning on seeing DC United lose in New York, planning on celebrating a victory. And yeah, just hands off our Quincy. Can we kill that right now? Hands off our Quincy.
Absolutely. Ken, as a side note, obviously because you're in New York.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you join up with Sarah and go and see DC United win?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know about Yankee Stadium, but I guess I'll make the sacrifice. Honestly, every time I go to a New York City FC game, it's a pretty bad experience. The fans are quite rude. And so I don't know. I will go, but yeah.
So on the side note again, when we make it to the next round of the playoffs, not if, but when, it might not actually be played at the Yankee Stadium, mightn't it? It might actually be played elsewhere. Ken, do you want to let the folks know where it might be played, just in case the Yankees make their baseball thing? Which I don't
Yeah,
know
so
about.
I haven't looked at there's like a grid for like what happens, but basically my understanding is that if the Yankees make the World Series, then New York City FC will have to play in Citi Field or something like that. Um, and so yeah, it might be at Citi Field, it might be at Yankee Stadium. Um, both, I mean, I don't know, but yeah.
And I heard a rumor as well that it might have been played at Red Bull Arena.
No, that's definitely not happening.
Fair enough, because that would have been hilarious.
Oh my
That would
goodness,
be really,
that'd be
really
awful.
funny, but it's also impossible for people from Manhattan to get there in under an hour and a half, 2 hours. So,
Of course, you know about that as well, don't you?
yeah, it took forever last time I went. I think 2 hours, something like that. It was terrible.
That's just abysmal. I mean, I can't comprehend that. Antonio has a second part to his questions, and this one was aimed at me because we had a little bit of a Twitter GIF war. Here we go.
Hi, my question is, why do you hate us? I mean, me and Sarah Kallassy were both team iPhone 11 since we both had it. Hi, Sarah. How's the new iPhone? I hope you enjoy it. I enjoy it. It's the best purchase I ever done. I'm Team Red. I don't know what color you got. I hope you're Team Red. If not, it's cool. We're both Team Apple. Why you hate us? Just join us. I bet young Quincy has an iPhone. Quincy, if you listen to this, please tweet at us if you're Team iPhone or Team Android. Team Android. Sorry, I almost threw up. Anyway, bye.
That was brilliant. Absolutely chuckled when I heard that earlier. So, first thing, Sarah, are you Team Red on iPhone 11?
I'm not Team Red. I am Team Midnight Green.
Oh,
And
Oh,
enjoying.
so you've got the Pro
no.
model, have you?
And thank you to my awesome husband for the new phone because I couldn't hear out of my old phone. I was having some trouble.
So, I mean, I do like the Midnight Green, if I'm honest. It is a
Oh
beautiful
my
colour.
It's gorgeous.
It reminds me of British racing green. That's how it is. But reason why I'm Team Android and not Team Apple or Team iPhone anyway is I work in the retail mobile industry or cell phone industry, as you guys call them over there in America. And I have to deal with those things every single day. So I can't say too much because, I'm not allowed to in certain ways, which is weird. But, I'm just not a big fan of them. I don't like the way they work. I've always used Android, and it's usually the Google handsets, whether it's been the Google Nexus or the Google Pixels. I've tried iPhones. I've just not got along with them. So it's not exactly that I hate them. They're just not for me, and they're not my cup of tea. So that's why I am not Team Apple or Team iPhone. There's no hate. It's just not for me. There you go. How was that?
That was very diplomatic.
Mm.
Ken, you all right there?
No, I'm good. Yeah, it's just interesting. That's all I'll say.
Oh. Oh. I want to hear more.
No, I don't. I think I'm. Yeah, that's a good point there, James.
Thank you. But yeah, honestly, I've tried them. I'm not a massive fan of them. I like being able to do what I want with my phone. I change the launcher. I change literally pretty much everything about it. I used to go through modding the phone in terms of the software, but I don't do that anymore because there's no need. I love the camera on my phone. It's absolutely phenomenal. I've been able to sell pictures with the using the camera on my phone, so it is really, really good. There we go. That's the main thing, and I like the size of it. I've got the XL model. It's huge. I've got big hands, and that's where I'm going to leave that one. But there we go. I'm gonna end it on that note. Thank you for joining me, Sarah and Ken, once again. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. As always, we'll do the customary outro. Sarah, where can people find you?
James, thanks again for having me on. It's always a really big pleasure to talk to you and to talk to Ken. So anyone can find me over at mlsfemale.com. You can find me on Twitter at Sarah Kallassy, Instagram, same handle. And I'd love to chat with you.
And Ken, where can the good folks who are listening to the show find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at DCU_soccer. I link everything I do from there. So, yeah, follow me there, and yeah.
Cool. And also, if you're listening to the show but you're not following any of the accounts, go ahead and follow on Twitter. It's at DC United Kingdom. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, at DC United Kingdom FC. And we've also got a website, dcunitedkingdom.com. And if you've enjoyed it, give us the podcast a rating and a review over on iTunes. If you want to become an actual DC United Kingdom member, like Sarah and Ken are, head over to dcunitedkingdom.com/membership. You can become a member. It's free to do so. You can also then participate in the end of season awards. We have a Twitter group, which is going strong. We've got many members now. And just join in the fun. It's always a pleasure to get behind the mic and speak to you guys. Once again, I hope you enjoyed the show. And until next time, Vamos United.